thank you all so much for coming. I'm Professor Laura Brown. I am the Graduate Program Director for the Master of Arts in Professional Communication. And we are so excited for this panel for a number of reasons. One, it's the first time we've done this panel with all faculty and all grad students and graduates. In the past, we brought in outside experts and so on, but now we actually have grown a crop of incredible experts that you're going to hear from tonight. The way we're running this program, and then I'll give you a brief overview of our master program, each presenter will be presenting about 5 to 7 minutes. And I'll be keeping some time to keep it moving, but I know they're all very well prepared. And at the end, then, we'll do a Q&A panel discussion with them, so you can ask some pointed questions, not only about their experience in the program, but about their social media presentations. Does that sound good? Okay, great. So we designed our Master of Arts in Professional Communication really carefully. We did a lot of outside research, not only on industry trends, but on career trends, job trends, and we talked to a lot of employers, we talked to a lot of scholars, and we really made it a fluid program that's customizable based on what individual goals, aspirations, both academically and professionally might be. So within our tracks of corporate and strategic communication and digital media and professional writing, you can actually handpick many of your courses based on, again, what you want to do. We also do a lot of career planning. And help, and in fact, I think a few people on the table are at some transitional phases with their professional careers as far as where they want to go upwardly, et cetera. So that's something that we work with you really closely as well, as far as to figure out, again, and help you set and define those goals to achieve more. Our student population is made up of a pretty even mix of students right out of college, so right out of undergraduate, and several are mid and even higher level professionals, directors, managers, and vice presidents already in industry. So it's a nice mix of collaboration, of ideas, as well as of learning. Are there any questions about the program specifically? Not yet? Okay. Okay, well, I'm going to have Christina Aiello talk a little bit about the admission process, and then we'll dive in and go from there. And most of you know where to reach me. There's a few unfamiliar faces, but I look forward to chatting with you one-on-one down the road. So thank you so much.
Good evening, everybody. I want to thank everybody so much for coming tonight. I know it's a little bit late, some of us who've been on campus most of the day, but so when you arrived this evening, you were given a packet of information which includes an outline of the program, which is going to happen tonight, along with information about the MA in Professional Communications. It is a 30-credit program housed here on campus. There are online components. It is not an online program. And in regards to the application process, I just wanted to touch base a little bit. All of our applications are housed online, so you'd need to go to our website, wpunj.edu/graduate. There are links in the packet. The application itself, you'll need to pay the $50 application fee, submit a copy of your undergraduate transcripts, which confers your degree, 2 letters of recommendation, official GRE scores, which we'll get from ETS directly, you'll have to request them, and an essay. So if you have any questions in regards to the requirements or things like that, feel free to touch base with myself, Professor Brown. We're always here to help you with anything that we can. The program is on a rolling admissions basis, meaning that you can apply pretty much any time throughout the year. We ask that you complete your application before August 15th for a fall start, and then December 15th for a spring start. There are a few other options if you wanted to get started and kind of dabble a little bit in the program before actually matriculating, coming in as a non-degree status. But those are all things, if you have questions, that we can touch base on at a later time. So if anybody has any questions, please feel free to reach out to me. My contact information is in the packets that you received. My office is in Morrison Hall, Suite 102. So without any further ado, I want to get this started. So thank you again.
I am going to introduce Professor Yu, only because we are so thrilled that she is part of our faculty ranks. She is a widely published scholar in the area of social media, integrated marketing, communication, et cetera. She's one of the primary faculty members in the program, both undergrad and graduate. And tonight she's actually going to talk about how we actually utilize social media in the classroom. and apply that to all of the learning that you would be doing in this program. So, Professor Yu, thank you so much.
Thank you, Professor Brown, for a wonderful introduction. Good evening, everyone. Thank you for joining us tonight. As Professor Brown just introduced, I'm the assistant professor in here, William Patterson University. I'm also co-director of New Jersey Social Media Research Center. I believe most of you are here because you are either interested in social media or graduate programs. So my presentation is about how social media are covered and integrated in our classroom, our professional communication classroom. We have a number of courses that cover social media and integrated social media in our classroom. But today, I want to highlight these 3 courses. One is social media communication that gives an overview of social media and covers different social media platforms. And the other 2 courses is writing intensive courses. So students learn how they can effectively write for a number of different online platforms. I'm the one who's teaching social media communication, 7150 course. So I want to share some example how social media are used and also covered in my classroom. First, yes, we have our own Facebook page. For official communication, I'm using Blackboard. But in addition to that, I created this Facebook page. This is not the group page, but it is very similar to the brand page looks like. I created a number of different purposes. First, to give a venue to students, they can engage each other. And also, as you can see, this is not just for graduate students, but also I'm teaching digital and social media communication for undergraduate. So this is the chance that graduate students can engage and interact with undergraduate students. Another purpose is, since this is the page, the Facebook generates specific metrics. So I can share the metrics generated by Facebook Insight so students can see how it looks like if they will become the Facebook manager or social media coordinator who will manage this Facebook page, how it looks like and what kind of metric they can use to measure Facebook communication success. Okay. In addition to that, yes, we have our course hashtag, hashtag YOO14. If you are interested in what kind of content students create, yes, you can just go to the Twitter or Facebook even, and just search hashtag YOO14. Then you can see the list of the contents that created by our students. So students learn how to use hashtag, what is the advantage of using hashtag in online communication. And also they can engage with other students using this course hashtag, and they can see the content or tweets created by other classmates. Yes, we are using Instagram as well. Okay? I didn't create an official course Instagram account, but I'd rather just use my personal account and share the photos and some visual message. Okay, like, have a wonderful spring break or welcome message. And this is a photo that was taken when a guest speaker visited our classroom. And also, our course is participating Hootsuite University program. This is a program created by Hootsuite, which is a social media management system. So students learn how to use this social media management system, and also they have a number of resources and videos. So students can watch it and learn about it. And also, they have a free 90-day access to Hootsuite Pro version. So throughout the semester, students are encouraged to use this Pro version and Hootsuite dashboard to create the content online. So what this means, what is the outcome, what is the benefit? Okay, so I want to highlight a number of outcomes I'm seeing from my courses. First, student hands-on experience. This is not just a textbook-based course. Yes, we cover theory. I'm the one who's doing research on social media as well. So we cover theory, we cover recent finding, but in addition to that, students can use this social media dashboard. They learn how to use it. So for example, they will see what is the benefit of using hashtag, and they can learn how they can use URL shortener and what is the benefit of using URL shortener. And they learn how they can create one content in one time in a number of different social media platforms. And they also learn how they can schedule tweets so they can enjoy weekend. Okay? They can schedule a tweet on Thursday, so it's automatically tweet out the tweet they schedule. And another big benefit is student engagement. Students engage each other, students engage with me, so that's another big benefit. Accessibility, okay? Students can ask a question through Facebook, they can send an email, they can tweet the questions, so it's pretty much I'm open and accessible 24 hours and 7 days. And this is another big benefit, especially the social media. If it is published, it is already outdated. So students actually share what's happening out there using this number of social media platforms. Yes, we shared and we discussed about this most retweeted selfie when Ellen tweeted these photos. And also we discussed about Winter Olympic, and we discussed how social media or different online platforms were used to generate or leverage this event. And another big outcome or big benefit from student perspective is they will become a certified social media professional at the end of this course. Because we are participating Hussoon University program, they need to take the exam and then they will become certified social media professional. Okay? So these are just a number of examples, and of course there's more. Number of my students actually participated social media week event that was held in March, at the beginning of the March, okay? And also I'm doing research with a student as well. So last year I conducted research with 2 of my graduate students, and we presented our result in one of the international conference. Okay, so those are some of the examples. If you have any more questions, please feel free to contact Professor Brown or me. Okay. Our second presenter is our current professional communication students, and also she's associate brand manager in Time. Okay.
Thank you, Dr. Yu. Hi, everyone. My name is Kat Barnett. As Dr. Yu just mentioned, I am currently the Associate Brand Manager at Time Inc. I work in their retail division. Our brand is called Time Warner Retail. And I'm here to talk to you about my master's project. My master's project is brand loyalty and online brand communities. My question is brand loyalty being strengthened through social media? The reason I decided to look at brand loyalty for my master's project is because brands are pervasive. Everywhere we look, Dasani water bottles on the table, backpacks, purses, everything like that. They're a part of our everyday lives. And my background professionally is in marketing. I previously worked at a global marketing firm that specialized in coupons and promotions with CPG companies, and currently Time Inc. is its own brand. So I thought it was a good mesh of my interests as well as my professional background to look at how brands use online brand communities to create positive brand experiences with their consumers. So, as I just said, why study brand loyalty? Brands are part of everything that we do. Companies are trying to figure out how and why consumers become loyal to certain brands. And as a result, consumers are becoming, through social media, our consumers are becoming more engaged than ever with brands. They're not only engaging with the brands and products themselves, but with other customers through social media, through the marketers that run various social media websites for their brands, and through the online brand communities. Consumers are looking for a brand experience. A lot of my research has shown that brand experience has 2 parts. First is customer precipitation, and second is going to be the connection you have with the brand. Because of that, that's going to lead into my research question. What is the relationship between brand loyalty and online brand communities? And I'm specifically focusing on Pinterest. As I just said, my variables are going to be Pinterest and brand loyalty. I chose 3 specific brands, Cooking Light, Food Network, and Craft Recipes, because those are brands that are very active and engaged on Pinterest, since you're able to share recipes and actual visual images of food and everything like that. Other brands that are very visually engaging are also going to be very active on Pinterest. So why did I choose Pinterest? The consumer sharing report trends for Q3 of 2013 showed that Pinterest engagement and use of was growing faster than any other social network. Facebook had an increase of about 15%. LinkedIn had an increase of also about 15%. Twitter was actually down, whereas Pinterest had an increase in about 20% in terms of usage between consumers. The purpose of my study, to focus on engagement with Pinterest, which is an online brand community, and how it affects brand loyalty through a positive brand experience. And if anybody has any questions, I'll be happy to answer my questions later on. So next up is going to be Kristen Cowsin, who's going to be talking about her master's project.
As Kat mentioned, my name is Kristen Cowsin, and I am currently working in the Sports Information Department here at William Patterson. I'm a really big sports fan, which is one of the reasons why I decided to base my master's project on something that had to do with sports. So my research question was, how do social media enable sports organizations to connect with their audience? So just a little bit of background. The use of social media as a marketing tool in general has increased, and with sports organizations specifically has also increased. Social media allows for fans to have more control. It is simple, accessible, and inexpensive for these organizations to use as a way to connect with these fans. And organizations can target fans by gaining knowledge of their behaviors through these pages. So the purpose of my study was to learn more about how Twitter aids sports organizations with connecting with fans. I chose to study 3 different Twitter pages, the National Football League, the Kansas City Chiefs, and New Orleans quarterback Drew Brees. And the reasons why I chose these was I based my study during the time of the Super Bowl. So the NFL was extremely active. The Kansas City Chiefs at the time were a playoff team. They ended up getting eliminated in the first round, so that kind of hurt a little bit. And Drew Brees was also on a team that was heading to the playoffs. I decided to take these tweets and organize them into 7 different coding categories. These categories included game day coverage, promotional, informational, behind the scenes, and personal for the individual account, and retweets, responses to fans, and any tweet that didn't fit into one of these 6 categories was put into a category called Other. So after 2 weeks, I studied it from the week before the Super Bowl and the week after the Super Bowl. So in these 2 weeks, I coded each tweet into these categories. There was over 700 tweets in total and over 1 million fan interactions. And the fan interactions include replies, retweets, and favorites. So once I recorded all of these tweets, I found that these 3 organizations mostly retweeted other tweets from other accounts. That was the big chunk of their tweets. And I found out that most of their fan interactions were favorites. So the fans, their favorite way to interact with the team was to favorite the tweet rather than reply to it or retweet it. The numbers between the favorites and the retweets were pretty close. And the replies were down a lot, but the favorites was definitely the favorite, for lack of a better word. So next we will hear from Isabella.
Hi everyone, my name is Isabella DeSousa. I'm a recent grad of the Professional Communication Master Program here at William Patterson. It's great to be back. I've been in digital publishing for about 4 years now. I was a copywriter at Barney's New York for their website, barneys.com. And I've recently taken a position as a marketing coordinator for a e-commerce company called App Eagle, located in Hackensack. We're a B2B company, and for anyone who doesn't know, B2B means business to business, whereas B2C means business to consumer. So I wanted to present today about social media marketing tactics and tools for B2B. So people tend to think, well, you're doing business to business, how does social media marketing integrate into that? And it's not much different from B2C. So as this chart shows, the leading reasons why B2B engages in social media marketing is for the benefits of generating business exposure, increasing traffic, and providing marketplace insight. The top B2B social networks as of 2013 were ranked as LinkedIn and then tied for Twitter and Facebook. So what are the goals usually that people set when they are putting together a B2B social media marketing campaign? Most marketers cited increasing brand awareness, which I think is great because the thing about social media is it's communicative. You know, you don't ever really want to base it on sales and revenue because you might not get the results that you want. It's really out there for you to engage with your consumers. So I think that it's great to see that people are being realistic and listing increasing brand awareness as the top goal. So what are some of the popular content marketing tactics? Studies show that almost everyone is, on social media using LinkedIn, Facebook, Twitter, but they also are posting on third-party articles, presenting their own newsletters and blogs, and especially in the case of B2B, I do this at my own company, presenting case studies and doing white papers. So some tools that I find to be really, really useful in B2B social media marketing. So one is Mention.net. I believe they recently have acquired the URL Mention.com, but it's an alternative to Google Alerts. So this is actually a screenshot of my Mention.net dashboard. So I set my two alerts, App Eagle, the name of my company, and repricing software, that's the industry that we're in. As you can see, my little red drawings show. So in the second column, I got an alert that said from this blog that they had mentioned repricing software. And from there, I was able to see, okay, what are they talking about? Because it's a relatively unknown industry. And I was actually able to find that one of our competitors was using our trademarked tagline, intelligent repricing. So my CEO was really happy that I found that. We had to send them a cease and desist letter and everything. But this is just an example of how you can find out what's being talked about on the internet. And this is, again, through Mention.net. It's a really great tool. Explore B2B, another really great tool. So it's really a content aggregate. So we publish content, I publish content on App Eagle's blog, and I upload it here to exploreb2b.com, and they just send it out there into their own followership, on Twitter and everywhere else, and it just helps it have a greater reach. And then, I don't know if anyone has heard of SlideShare. It's really up and coming. I know teachers use it a lot to put together presentations. Think of it as sort of a mini PowerPoint. It's really easy to embed into blogs and other social media posts. And for B2B specifically, we're seeing a 25% conversion rate on marketing tactics using SlideShare. So it's really up and coming. Video is really important in any kind of marketing, and specifically B2B. Half of B2B marketers rate it as the most effective marketing tactic, and 90% of marketers share it through Facebook and Twitter. Infographics are huge as well, at least I find in my industry. Basically, if you've never heard of an infographic before, it's just information that's put together in a really cool way, and through pictures and other graphics. It makes it interesting to look at. It's really important because infographics can do so much for a social media marketing campaign. Humans, you retain 90% of what you retain is visual. They're easy to be shared, which gains worldwide coverage, increases brand awareness, increases traffic to your website, and not only that, but it boosts your SEO. So shareability is the most valuable component of social media. So anytime that you can produce content that can be shared, you're going to automatically increase your rate of getting conversions. Anyone who doesn't know what a conversion is, that's when you take a customer who is not, paying or responding to a call to action, and they actually become a customer of yours. So pictures, links, quotes, videos, and studies and statistics are the top forms of content that are shared. So how are marketers engaging users and possible leads through social media? About 80% of them are using retweets and mentions on Twitter. 70% are responding to comments on the walls of their Facebook pages, and over 90% are actively updating their Facebook pages on a weekly basis. So nothing is without its challenges, especially not a social media marketing campaign. The top challenges marketers face are producing enough content, enough variety of content, content that engages, and of course, lack of budget. A lot of companies are hesitant to hire a person, like myself, a content manager, who's willing to take on all of these things. So these are some of the basic challenges that B2B content marketers face. So how do we measure it all? Well, 93% of the most effective business-to-business content marketers cite lead generation as a top goal. So of course, brand awareness, lead generation, customer acquisition, but when it comes to metrics, it's easy, it's tangible when you measure your web traffic, your sales lead quality, and the social media sharing, as I mentioned before. So all of this really encompasses the full spectrum of a B2B social media marketing campaign. And I look forward to answering any of your questions, and I'd like to welcome Dr. Matt Crick.
So let me start by asking a question, actually 3 questions. How many of you have ever gone to YouTube to look at a video? Raise your hands. How many of you have gone to YouTube to look at a funny video? Raise your hands. Okay, that's a pretty big group. How many of you have gone to YouTube to learn how to do something? Raise your hands. That's what's interesting to me, is that is going to YouTube not just to get to find something funny to watch, but to actually learn how to do things too. And that happens to be something that folks aren't talking about in the world of YouTube. So one of my interests in terms of research is specifically YouTube, but generally speaking, social media, and that's my connection to the master's program. So I want to thank Professor Brown and Professor Yu for allowing me to come and sort of present today. So my research is in YouTube, and specifically when I'm talking about YouTube, or my interest relates to how people use YouTube, not in the traditional ways that you're probably used to reading about or hearing about. So learning is a big part of YouTube, and one of the studies that I did was a study 2 or 3 years ago where I went into the Bronx and I did a study with Bronx community college students. And so I asked them a variety of questions about YouTube, and a couple of the questions that I asked had to do with how they feel about people watching them in YouTube and whether they watched other people in YouTube. So this falls along the lines of surveillance and power in YouTube. So when you're using social media, and YouTube's considered a user-generated content site, right? When you're using YouTube, it's not just that you're actively sort of uploading or downloading, and in this particular study it turned out that most people were not uploading, but they were viewing. So what happened was almost all of the respondents reported out that they watched a lot of video, but also that they watched other people anonymously. So they didn't sort of put in their own information. So there were emails that couldn't identify them, and they would do what's called lurking. So they would watch other people, comment on posts, but not actually participate in the process. So they were surveilling other people, and also YouTube is watching them, right? Because YouTube is sort of counting every click you make. So whatever video you watch, Google actually at this point, is calculating that and aggregating that data. So what's happening is now Google sort of has a vertically integrated market with AdSense and all kinds of other Google products, and YouTube is one of those products. So surveillance is a big part of what's happening on YouTube. And one of the things that folks don't often realize is that that's happening, that other people are watching them in YouTube, and Google is sort of tracking what you're doing. That's the surveillance piece. The power piece has to do with how people feel about their agency in YouTube. What is their place in the YouTube digital environment? And some people feel very powerful. This focus group reported out that they feel empowered that they can put up any video that they want and send it to their friends, or have people who are actually total strangers, also sort of watch what their videos are. So they felt very powerful. When I asked them the question, well, how would you feel if somebody was tracking your financial information or your personal email? Oh no, don't touch my personal financial information or my email. You can capture everything else, my gender, my race, what kind of videos I like, what I write about other people while I'm on YouTube. I don't care about any of that, but financial or email, don't touch that. I feel violated if you do that, right? So they didn't like that. They didn't feel powerful in that situation. When I asked them questions like, what do you do in YouTube other than just sort of watch videos? And this is what surprised me. So this is the interesting thing with the study, which nobody in the field, in the area of research along the lines of user-generated content or video sharing has sort of looked at, which I'm excited about, and that's the learning piece. One student reported out to me that he loved YouTube because one day he had to go to a funeral. And of course I'm hearing this and I was like, well, how is this going to be good in the end? And he said, well, I had to go to a funeral, but I didn't know how to tie a tie. So I went onto YouTube and I learned how to tie a tie because my father never showed me how to do it. His father hadn't been around. So he learned how to tie a tie on YouTube. So that was striking to me. So I thought, well, this is just what I'm assuming. This is a small group. It's not something I can extrapolate to a large group. But let me see what something like the Pew Internet Life Project says. And it's a huge organization that captures data, internet data, and what people are doing online. And they actually reported that learning how to do something on YouTube is the third highest kind of video that people download. How-to videos, educational videos, right? But the public perception is that YouTube is a place for the sneezing panda baby, right? So this is what's really curious, is that it seems like a place where nothing is happening but a lot of user-generated videos and people uploading stuff, and that's actually not true. There's a lot of other things that are going on in YouTube, and actually user-generated videos, like stuff you guys might upload, your favorite, your birthday party or whatever it is, that is the smallest percentage of stuff that's up there, especially now. And this is where power comes in a different way. Now YouTube is vastly different, because what's really on there now, if you dig deep, you don't even have to dig that deep, is a lot of commercial, producer, professionally created videos. So what's happening is YouTube, through Google, Google's purchase of YouTube in 2006, started this chain, where now Google has sort of taken YouTube and is now preparing it to be a significant competitor in the television and broadcasting market. Sort of like Netflix, they haven't gone into streaming yet, but they're going there. The difference is, and why it might matter to us, why it might be important to us, is how do we feel about one company, Google for instance, owning the means to produce all of the content we watch, all of the advertising we watch, all of the ads that we watch, and being able to target it to you. You sitting there behind the screen, tracking everything. And then the other thing that happens is that all of this is flattened and integrated. So Facebook, YouTube, Pinterest, all of that data is being shared and connected across space and time. And you say, well, big deal, I love the pet videos, right? It would be okay if that were just what's going on. But Google is in charge and in control of all of the algorithms that are being written to take all of this data and do things with it, put it together, have a little crawler, bot across the internet, track everything that you do. They're in charge of all of that. It's protected because they're a company. So we don't get to see any of that data, how that's written or how that's created or anything like that. And that, for media studies scholars, is a big concern because it takes some of the shine off the idea that this is a democratizing force, that YouTube is a space where democracy and empowerment occur alone. And my particular opinion on this is that it's both. It's a mix, but the scales are starting to tilt. Yes, you have the power to put anything you want up on YouTube, well, within reason, right? Put anything you want up on YouTube, send it to anyone you want, post what you want, text. It is a social networking site as well, not like Facebook, but these things are coming together, right? But at the same time, you're giving away a lot of information that you may not be aware of and that you have no control over what happens to it on the backside. Every time you see a user end user agreement change, that's not just like someone going, well, let's make it B instead of C. They're changing something that doesn't necessarily benefit you as the user. It's company driven, right? So I'm not trying to scare you, right? But I'm trying to lay out for you the landscape in the world that you're in now and you're actively producing and working in. So power, surveillance, consumerism, democracy, all of that is happening, but at the same time, you don't have as much control over it as possible. So I'm probably getting close to my time. So let me wrap it up and say this. Before you sign the end user agreement, read it. Okay? Thanks very much.
Don't read it.
I don't read it.
I don't read it. I don't read it.
Okay. Thanks very much, everybody.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Well, there's two things I'll say about Dr. Crick's presentation. One, it shows he really knows his stuff because he didn't need the cheat sheet, right? So thank you for that. Two, it probably was Google that was controlling the message and not allowing him to do that. That's why he had to update. And I think his presentation, as well as all the presentations tonight, really illustrate the juxtaposition of the marketing side and the PR side and the side of us trying to influence and engage, and then the other side and the issues that might come to light with that. So it really is a nice balance and counterbalance, which certainly our program will allow you to debate, explore, research, etc. What I'm going to do now is open it up to questions, and first of all, to thank all of our presenters. If you are interested in learning more about the research and the work they're doing, we are actually having a formal presentation of all of our graduate our May graduate students' master projects and their research on May 1st in the Martini Conference Room. Write that down, May 1st, Martini Conference Room in Hobart Hall. There'll be food there too. Food beginning at 5 p.m. and the presentations at 6. So you're welcome to join us for that too, to learn more and to get more detail about their findings and their projects. So thank you for that. And I will certainly open it up to questions. So please, and you can come up to the mic, or if you're nervous, you don't have to. We'll see how loud you are. Mel.
I have a question about the lead generation for the B2B.
Isabella.
Yeah, I never really heard that term before. Could you expand on that?
Lead generation. So in any business, you want to generate leads, you want to generate interest in what it is that you're selling, whether it's a product or a service. In my company, it's a service. So for example, when I craft my content strategies or our posts for social, we want to target exactly who our constituents are, who our demographic is. And for us, it's third-party market sellers, people who sell on Amazon, eBay, Rakuten, things like that. So we engage in those communities on Facebook and things like that because those are where our leads are. Those are where the people that might have interest in our products are. So our content is geared towards them to have them have an interest in us, if that makes sense.
So basically it's like the target audience.
They're your target audience, exactly.
Have you found certain age groups target to certain platforms more than others? And if you know of any, can you tell us what they are? Anyone?
I remember from last year's master's presentation, someone presented on Pinterest and someone on Instagram, and I think they said that the age group for Instagram is around 18 to 30, whereas Pinterest goes as high as 60 to 65. So that's useful
It
to know.
depends on the platform.
Yeah.
And blogs are a little older and also more educated group and bloggers, but more visually focused platform is a younger generation. And if you want to get some data and article about it, I think I have a bunch of articles to share.
Dr. Yu has articles about everything.
It is certainly hard to stay ahead of it. You have to be intellectually curious and continue to read. I mean, we're running as well to try to at least catch up, because as Dr. Yu had said, the minute it's out there, it's old. So, Mel, did you have another question?
Yes. Why do you think Twitter usage is declining as opposed to Pinterest and the other platforms? Because Twitter is the only one that went down, right?
I didn't really look into why Twitter's going down, just because my specific project was focused on Pinterest. But the thing you have to remember is that there are so many different platforms that are coming up that are, can be taking off or shrinking, just because of the massive amount of different platforms that we can use. I mean, if you think about it, MySpace was huge, in the early 2000s, and now it's basically non-existent, and it's basically reformatted itself for the music era. So I don't really know why Twitter went down during that quarter. But again, it could have something to do with the fact that there are so many different social media platforms out there.
That would be a good future master project topic for you. Yeah.
But there's one finding that said that Twitter is a still niche market, and many Twitter users test Twitter, but they just left. So there are a good number of dead accounts. I'm not sure what quarter she shared, because I didn't focus on, but if it is a 2013 quarter, yes, because Twitter worked so hard for their first IPO, okay, and maybe that time the Twitter use and usage is really high, then after the IPO, maybe, compared to the previous quarter, it could be decreased a little bit. Yes, that could be the factor. I mean, I didn't, investigate, I didn't examine, but if I see the history of the Twitter, they worked so hard right before the IPO, so that's why the increase, the usage was increased, but maybe right after that it could be decreased a little bit compared to the previous quarter. It doesn't mean the overall usage was decreased compared to the previous year. Okay? Yes.
Oh, you're so shy. Yes, in the back. Hi.
This is for the panel. I read a recent article that said SEO is dead and that people shouldn't be so consumed with the hashtags and the right SEO hashtags, and that the key, and Isabel, I think you touched on this a little bit, was a lot of content, a lot of quick and consistent content being pushed out all of the time, and then they saw better results with that than the SEO efforts. And I was just sort of curious, since you guys seem to be sort of at the forefront of some of this technology, do you agree with that, disagree with that? What are the strategies that you're seeing are effective?
I'm not a SEO expert, but I'm teaching search engine optimization in my class. So people are saying SEO is dead because the Google recently changed their algorithm. Previously, Google was focused on keyword. Okay, so the SEO strategy, if they play with the keyword, they could have a better result. But since now Google has a big database because of the advance of technology, Google's not just searching on using keyword. They can actually save and search whole contents. So I don't think SEO is dead, but the approach or strategy should be changed, because Google recently announced the Hummingbird updates, a number of different updates. So they are changing, every moment. So SEO is existed, but the way to approach it should be changed a little bit. And because of change of the algorithm, the importance of social media is kind of growing, because social media is about content creation. Okay, and those contents can include all different keywords. Keyword is still important, but yes, my conclusion is the way to approach should be changed. But it doesn't mean SEO strategy is dead and SEO dead. I think that the just way need to be changed a little bit.
I agree with Dr. Yu, and in my experience, my company really did very little content creation until they were able to hire, me to, or whoever else they were going to hire, to really focus on the blog and social media. And like Dr. Yu mentioned, the Google algorithm, it's not solely based on SEO. You need to A/B test your AdWords ads and your banner ads and things like that to see what's really working for you. But really constant content posting and variety of content posting, that's really what is going to help you rank higher on Google. I mean, we've seen it in our analytics at my company. So I think that's one way to look at SEO.
I definitely agree. It's not dead. It's just companies need to change the way that they're approaching it. It used to be just about keywords, and keywords are still important. And you should still, as Isabel said, constantly creating fresh content and including things like videos and pictures and sharing it on multiple sites and trying to connect with other users and other brands and stuff like that, because that will organically increase your Google ranking.
One thing along the lines of video content, especially. The category of video sharing on the internet is the largest growing area of content. So recent research from Pew points that video sharing has increased faster than any other kind of content sharing on the internet. So what you're going to see is you're going to see much more video sharing, much more video enriched kind of activity from a business perspective and certainly a user perspective. And it's the reason why some Netflix, for instance, can comprise over 50% of the entire internet download traffic in the world. So that it's such a strong, heavy sort of activity in terms of video sharing that it's eating up a lot of the traffic. And that trend is going to continue because people respond to that sort of thing. That kind of, we see ourselves and smile because
There's also a new debate about that because of the Netflix who are harnessing this and using the wires and using the services as far as who's actually going to then pay for that. And again, I'm certainly not a social media scholar, but that's something that I think we'll be looking at as well as businesses like Netflix and Google and all of these competitors, because they are all competing for your market share, your mind share, your money, etc. It'll be fun and scary, to your point as well, to see who's going to be owning how these messages are actually and how you are doing your search and how you're downloading.
It's certainly not us. I mean, that's right. It's not us. We don't own it.
I have one comment because this is kind of related to privacy issue, and many people are scary. Google's in watching it, Big Brothers, and but I actually read one study about it's from the marketing perspective. So one big question is if consumers are scary, then what is the way we can overcome this challenging point? And they said that companies are okay with Amazon, even though Amazon, because I'm a prime member of the Amazon, just because they see the benefits. Okay, I'm okay if you're collecting my data, but if you provide better service with my data, okay, then consumers usually okay with sharing their data.
Yeah,
okay?
I completely agree. I think that that is predicated on whether or not the consumer is aware of how all of the data is being managed and used, and it's the aggregation of the data and the selling of it that some people object to. Yeah, I mean, here's another way of looking at it. That's a fair point. If you're on Facebook and you're 15 years old, and you've had a lot of activity, or 16, let's say, and you've had a lot of activity and you've been doing a lot of things on Facebook, and so H&M has identified you as a great consumer, and you're 15 or 16, and so they start targeting you with ads, and you're like, oh, that's a sweet pair of shoes, right? And so you decide to go get your parents' credit card because you figured out how to use their credit card and go to H&M and buy the shoes online. That's where it gets crossed because I'm no longer in control as a parent, let's say. I don't have control of all the activity that's happening.
That's scary.
And the marketers and everybody is sending material. So it is good in a way because I think it's great when I'm fed information that I like already. When I see videos on YouTube, I'm like, yeah, that is funny. I am going to go to bad lip reading. That's hilarious, right? Because they've found out I like that sort of stuff. But on the other side of it is that when you're not sort of, if you're in the sort of category of children or other kinds of protected kinds of categories, it's a very different experience from that perspective.
My 9-year-old, I'm embarrassed to admit, is on Instagram. And she doesn't have an email address, it's all linked to my account, but my sister spies on her for me, because she's cool. And she's like, did you see what she posted? Did you see all the things that come up? And it is terrifying as a parent. So that is certainly something that, I don't have my brain around at all. But she also knows how to update and fix my phone and fix all my devices and make, whatever it is. So she could have done that Prezi for us probably and figured out how to do that, and I'm sure half of you, so there we have it. A couple more questions.
I want to throw out a question to the panel because you're talking about media.
Okay.
Well, how does social media affect interpersonal relations? Because ultimately it's about people, but social media makes it about the social.
I can say the one thing that I do know from, statistically, there is a study that has said that people who are on Facebook are actually less happy. Have you heard about that? Yeah, okay. And
so let me give you the counter to that.
Because everyone's always happy on Facebook and their lives are so fabulous, so it actually is increasing the rates of depression.
That is true, and I've seen the same kind of research. But on the other side of it, the Rutgers Center for Mobile Communications did a study while I was at Rutgers, and I'm sure they followed up on it. But they did a study of college students who go away to college and their parents, are at home. And the parents report out that they are much happier and their children are much happier because they can text all the time and they're on Facebook and they see what's happening. Now, the parents only see what they see. So, like, if their child is texting them at the club, it's like, and the parents are happy and everything. But the point is, at the level of interpersonal relationships, both people are happy. So my argument is, so what if computers or technology have insinuated themselves between us? If we feel like we're still together, isn't it okay?
Well, I can speak from personal experience. My family, I'm first generation, my entire family is in Brazil, and I am able to know what's happening in my cousins' lives and my aunts and uncles' lives because of Facebook. So I think that does wonders for interpersonal communication in that way. I think that when people get wrapped up in, as Professor Brown was saying about, oh, you're posting a beautiful life on Facebook. Obviously, you're not going to post anything negative about your life on Facebook, and that's where
or a lot of people do, and that's a whole nother genre of ranting and.
I prefer the face-to-face. I think magical things happen when it's face-to-face. Accidents like the Prezi presentation not working, right? Yep. So then we all come together as human beings and we have a real experience that can't be duplicated and spread across the internet. And isn't that something that's far beyond and far more valuable than whether or not I'm updating my page?
There's a lot to the Instagram, and you always are posting your selfies and this and that as well, where you remember more things if you don't have a photograph of it because you're in the moment and you're present versus, oh my God, and I'm a picture junkie, so I'm so guilty of, documenting every second of my kids' life. But the reality is when I was on my vacation, I took maybe quite a few pictures, but the most fun we had was when I put away that phone and put away the camera and you experienced life. So to that interpersonal experiencing versus documenting, I think holds a lot of weight. It's balance, like anything, I suppose.
It should not be unchecked, and that's what I'm finding in the writing I'm doing right now for a book is that there are lots of arguments that show that what's happening on Google and what's happening in YouTube and social networking and user-generated content, that this is not checked because we're not really watching. We're not really paying attention because of the ease of use and the spreadability of our message. We're not paying attention to that side of it. And companies are helping us, some companies, are helping us feel good about what we're doing, which is fine, but other things are happening too with that. So it's about checking and making sure that you're paying attention to what's going on in your usage of material, right? And interaction with the internet.
And as Professor Brown said, so far there are a number of studies that said that because of social media, face-to-face communication is kind of decreased, and people, younger generation don't know how to communicate with the real people. They're really good in texting. Okay. But as Isabella pointed out, but there's other benefits of the social media. I have my mom in my country, but I can actually communicate every day using this social technology. So current study said that Facebook make people unhappy. Very interesting finding. But I think this social media platform, and to better understand the social media platform, the impact of social media platform on interpersonal relationship, this need to be tested and examined in a number of different contexts to better, and different setting and context, so they can better understand what is the real impact of social media. And I think that means also our program has a great opportunity, and our students need to investigate and then to study. And
that's a really excellent point, because we're easily swayed by big numbers and studies that are published that say it's an awful thing that's going on here, or we're shocked to see this, and that's really not the whole picture. We really need to look at it from a variety of angles, and in a program like this, you're able to do that, because you're going to get folks like me who are going to say, look at what's happening here, and also what's happening here, right? And then you're going to get a variety of perspectives, and I think that's what makes it a very unique program and is empowering to you when you go out there, because you're going to know a lot of other stuff beyond just sort of the courses.
Yes.
Is there, because I just feel like a lot of tonight we talked about social media and business, and now considering the political movement with social media, like for example Venezuela and Ukraine, who are having issues with the press, but a lot of information is being spread through social media. I guess necessarily my question is there a focus on that, like political ties and journalism with social media versus just business?
I mean, the beautiful thing about our program, it's fluid. We're trying to stay relevant. It's current. If you take one course in one semester, it might be a slightly different course in the following semester, because we are bringing what's going on in the news, what's going on in the industry, what's going on with the climate every semester. And that's the great thing about our professors, but as well as your classmates, that we are constantly seeking to make sure that we're tying in, as Dr. Yu said, the theories and all the concepts that you need to understand from a foundational perspective, but also making sure we connect those dots and say, here's how you can apply this in your life, here's how this look what's happening in the world right now and why that's happening. It's hard as an instructor, because obviously, like, okay, this semester I'm going to do, a couple semesters ago, I did a whole deep dive on all the power outages and what that meant, and the messages and the tweets and this and that. Another semester, it may well be on a political uprising or a natural disaster or something else that's going on. So that, again, is what makes me so excited and proud of this program, because it is extremely fluid in how we're approaching every course, every semester, quite frankly.
There's actually a course on that. That's in the Global Society. It's a graduate course, yeah.
I can also say in my digital communication course, the application course,
which is offered this summer, if you're ready to dive in.
Thank you. Where I
Register
teach about
now.
digital applications and use. I'm teaching it at the level of I want you to be able to learn how to use the tools for an immediate application, say in your business, your workplace, or whatever. But I'm also leading discussion groups on Blackboard on technological determinism, and the power and sort of corporate structure and power relations between traditional old media and new media and things like that. And yes, I'm figuring out how to connect all of that. Because if you are a producer and a consumer, it's intentional. It should be intentional. So if you think along the lines of how does this impact in a larger way, politically, in my own community, things like that, that means that your work is going to be more thoughtful and engaging, because you've put more of yourself into it. It's not just, I'm going to put an edit here and then I'm going to upload it, right? So I definitely bring that perspective into the course where it's appropriate. There's some places, you can't always do that because there's work to be done as well, beyond that. But I certainly am bringing my own background and research in the area of media studies into the work I do.
And in many of the courses, you have such comprehensive opportunities to do projects where you do have some wiggle room, on how you're going to pursue the topic, whether it's in one of the writing courses or whether it's in a course where you're doing a PR marketing plan, et cetera, so, or a research paper or case study, case analysis. So again, you definitely do have flexibility within a guided framework of what we know you have to know.
Yeah, and speaking as, I already finished the program, but even hearing Dr. Yu talk about what she recently is doing is already evolved from what I learned, obviously, because it's such an evolving industry. And I mean, I think there's so many ways you can tie politics to it, going back to your point. I mean, I believe today they announced that Turkey cut off YouTube from the entire country. Like, yes. They couldn't go on it. So that's obviously an enormous political discussion, that can take place between social media and how it affects an entire country politically, so.
I think we only have time for one more question, if there's one more question. Yes?
I'm just wondering, I've been finding lately with posting videos that they have less reaction from people and likes and whatnot than pictures. And I'm just wondering, is there kind of an art to being successful in posting videos and getting a lot of attention? Like, is there a certain amount of minutes that people will pay attention? Is there a certain, status you should post with it, or a hashtag? Do you know anything?
You have to enroll in our program to find out. No.
Well, I think we're talking about Instagram.
I'm just kidding. I
think we're talking about Instagram in general.
YouTube. I think. Were you talking about YouTube?
Yeah. Are you talking about YouTube?
Well, I actually. This will depress you. I'm sorry. No, YouTube. We think that videos that get a lot of likes or followers or whatever. That's sort of happening virally, but actually what's going on in YouTube is they're privileging their top uploaders. Those people that upload the most are the ones that get pushed into the queue up higher. And so it's cyclical and kind of feeds on itself. So essentially, and I don't know what those levels are, but you have to get to a point where you're uploading a lot of stuff. And then what you start to see is a turn in terms of how many people are watching and views. Views is the currency, right, of the YouTube realm. Followers on Twitter, likes on Facebook. That's the currency, right? So our emotional space has been co-opted by an economic position. But upload a lot and you'll be great.
Yeah, but therein lies the challenge, and again, what makes you being interested in these topics so much fun, but also so frustrating as PR marketers and so on, and on Matt's side. Again, as we're talking in this room, there's something new going on that we don't know yet, and that we need to learn in order to be able to compete, however that is, whether that is getting your YouTube video viewed, or whether that's getting, a job, or whether it's getting your B2B client to sign on to you and to not use your work illegally. So, just to wrap up, I would like to say we back to the program. This summer we have 2 courses, and that is something. We have a leadership and teamwork course as well as a digital communication application course. I believe they're both hybrids, I think. So that means they meet sometimes in person, but also there's an online component. And then in the fall, we have, I think, about 5 courses on the books as well. It's all online, so you can refer to that if you're interested. If you do have further questions of any of our panelists, you have their biographies. I'm sure they're all on LinkedIn and other social media, so you can like and friend, et cetera. Then they'll be glad to talk with you more. And you can certainly email the rest of us. We still do have a little bit of time just for discussion, one-on-one, and so on, and some networking after the panel discussion. So I'd like everyone to certainly thank you all for coming and for all of your interest and good questions and attention. And then a special thanks, obviously, to all of our presenters tonight. Thanks so much. So see what's left of the food and feel free to chat. Thank you guys so much. Thank you.